You're welcome back. You've been watching Business Morning, coming to you live from Channels Television, broadcasting from Lagos. I've now been joined by the Chief Executive Officer in charge of Sub-Saharan Africa at Citibank. He is Ade Ayeyemi. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to start off. You've been at Citibank for over 25 years. I understand that. And you've been in charge of Sub-Saharan Africa. How would you assess the efforts by the various governments in the region to spur growth in the countries?
I think in terms of effort, if you go back 25 years ago or even 15 years ago, and if we're going to look at people in terms of effort, I think a lot of effort has been made. However, the way the population looks at it, until my house is not yet painted, my kids have not gone to school, opportunities have not been delivered to my village, people are always asking for things to be done. But effort has been made, but we are not yet there.
Okay. What do you think can make us to get there? How can we move from just making efforts to achieving the results that we want?
Okay. If you take a look at it, I think the first thing we need to, what are we good at? So let's take Nigeria and get focused. There are about 11 countries that has population of over 100 million in the world. Nigeria is one of them. So we have a good population, we have a good internal market. How can we put that population to work? How can we deliver to that population? The first thing we need to focus on is the ease of doing business in the country. And what do I mean by ease of doing business? How long does it take for us to be able to register property? How long does it take for us to get electricity? How much does it cost us to be able to transfer property? So that people that have houses can convert their houses into capital, they can use the capital to set up firms. Now, that is what I think we need to start focusing on as a country, as an economy. Because once we do that, we then make it easy for people to set up businesses, that businesses become profitable. If you are in some parts of the world and you want to set up a small salon, okay, to be able to do barbing, in those places, a large component of your investment will go into the goods for barbing hair, for making people feel comfortable, for painting their faces, and co. But if you're in Nigeria, the first thing you would do is, after renting the property, you look for a generator, you look for where to get the kegs for the diesel and that. And that is where you spend your money on. That is not what we want people to spend their money on. We want the government to provide some of the services so that it's available for people to be able to just make investment in the things that drive their business. If we can get a small-scale enterprises moving, then they become medium-scale enterprises. Then we are now on a position to start driving growth into the economy. That is how we get people employed. It's not just employment in government businesses. It's not just employment in civil service. It's actually enabling people to create employment in the small and medium scale, and then we're able to be part of it. If we want to be part of a global economy, we need to be able to, we don't have to have the large-scale manufacturing facility. You can just take a small scale. If you look at, even if you take aeroplane, okay, aeroplane is not manufactured in only one place. It's diversified through the globe. But what do we need to be able to participate in that part of that global logistics chain? Is to be able to manufacture and export. Now, how long does it take us to be able to export goods from Nigeria, for example? It takes days. Now, in the global manufacturing economy, you don't have that time. And we need to focus on that. And luckily for us, the World Bank has put out doing business in Nigeria, doing business in the world. Just take that, look at where we rank. We are 170 out of 189 globally. We know who is the best. We can benchmark ourselves. We can go for it.
Now, when we look at that report, we actually looked at that report on the show a few days ago. And although Nigeria's position improved generally, but there's some areas that we still need to work on. How can the government make the changes that is required?
Well, we improved. To be factual, they're 189. We were 175 last year. We're 170 this year. That's good improvement. But there are so many people, 169 people in front of us. So what I think we need to do as a country, not just government, all of us, is to pick what do we want to do. Take registration of property. It costs 18.6%. to do registration of property in Nigeria. It costs 4.6% in the UK. So if you're somebody that wants to acquire property, what do? You go to the UK. Why can't we say we want to focus on that? And we say, okay, we're going to focus on that. Then pick one other thing. How long does it take to export? How long does it take to import? So once we take, as a country, we get focused. We say, this is what we want to do. And we then go to the various government agencies that are delivering the services. We have performance contracts, the same way we do in private sector. We say, this is what we want you to do this year. And all of us as a nation then focus on it. If the idea is to have a good airport reception service, in our airport today, if you're coming through, you have very good people, very hardworking Nigerians there. But we need to organize them to be able to serve people that are coming to the country. Because people coming in are customers. They're not just visitors. They are customers coming here to spend money. When they come here, they spend money, people get employed. And that's the way we need to look at it. You have four, so if you get four people, one person will look at your passport, the other person will stamp the passport, the other person will look at the passport after it's been stamped. In most other places, only one person attends to you. So instead of four people looking at it sequentially, one person will have attended to you, and people will be able to go through.
Okay, at the World Economic Forum in Davos that was just concluded, the issue of Africa's growth was emphasized, and areas of power, leadership were also highlighted. You know, Africa is actually required to employ leadership to address increasingly complex and interlinked global problems. So how can they employ these tools to achieve results?
I think leadership is being honest with your people and be able to say, okay, here are the things we need to do. Here is the roadmap to getting it done. And here is what we need. Let's take power in Nigeria, for example. Power, we have a very limited supply of power at the aggregate level. I understand there's 5,000 megawatts in stock capacity. I understand the rest of the one that is not made by the government is made by private sector using diesel. So the government wants, the people wants to pay very little for the government power. They are ready to pay a lot for the private sector diesel generated power. There can be in the middle. In the middle, we can tell people that let's pay a little bit more to get power. Over time, it will get reduced. And that is the way we solved the mobile telephone problem. When the mobile phone came, it was costing 40,000 naira to buy a line. Today, people hug the line in road traffic. And the only way that happened is that because people were ready to pay, supply came in, and then the price fell. If we want the price to fall before supply comes in, it becomes difficult. Leadership is not just distributing candies. It's being candid with your people. Because if we're not ready to be candid with ourselves, it's difficult to be able to make rapid progress. And that is what the World Economic Forum is talking about. Let us be transparent, let us be candid, and let us drive as our people to understand that the world economy, it is global. If we are not ready to make the hard choices, it's difficult to have a good future.
And I sense the issue of infrastructure, power was also raised at that meeting, and that is one area Nigeria is still grappling with at this point. Now, how can we fast track the development in that area in terms of translating the economy, you know, economic growth through the instrumentality of infrastructure in the country?
So again, we talk power. If I were to be blunt with you, the price of power has to be cost reflective for private people to put money there. We've unbundled the power infrastructure into 11 discos. We have the GENCOs, we have the discos. One of the things that can happen quickly, for example, is for the embedded power generation to be allowed. It's been allowed by law, by the way, to be allowed into the various distribution companies. So let's take Lagos or Ikeja, Eko or Ikeja distribution, and we take one location. Let's take this area. We can have embedded power generation, but the embedded power generation, by its very nature, is going to be more expensive than the one that is generated by the GENCOs, because the GENCOs are large scale. The embedded will be small scale, but it will be cheaper than individuals having their own generation set. And if we get that done, now, what is required to get that done is to allow the distribution companies to charge more, a little bit more, for the embedded rather than what is coming from the national grid. And you will see the ingenuity of Nigerians in a lot of this springing up.
I know that we are in a global economy, and Nigeria is not immune from what happens there. The falling oil prices is one case in point. Now, what approach or approaches do you think that we can use to address the impacts of falling oil prices on our economy?
I think it's real that we used to have oil at 140, 110. It was 110 as of June. It's gone down to under 50 today. So there will be impact on our economy. I get that. But more importantly for us, other than focusing on what is global that we may not be able to do much about, is to focus internal on the things we can do more about. The falling oil prices reduces revenue for the government. I get that. As a country, we need to look at what we do with government revenue. We need to improve that. We need to be able to get more taxes done. But also, we need to reduce the things that we import that is not important for the economy. We need to import the important things, and we need to be able to produce more. By the way, every time there is a change, every shock creates risks, it creates opportunities. It is now an opportunity as the Naira is falling to make us more competitive, for people to be able to add value to the agricultural products, to add value to the things that we have in terms of oil, and be able to create export. Exporters will now be smiling because the terms of trade, it will be in their favor.